In second-line treatment of patients with adenocarcinoma or with pretreated non-small cell lung cancer, now we have 2 positive trials after decades of negative trials showing a superior efficacy for the combination of docetaxel and an anti-angiogenic compound, which has been Nintedanib or which has been Ramucirumab. While it's difficult to compare both of these trials one with another because you cannot perform any cross-trial comparisons. However, there are some differences which may be important also for clinical practice. Number one is histology. So in the Reck trial, the combination of Ramucirumab and docetaxel has been investigated in patients with pre-treated non-small cell lung cancer regardless of histology. And the improved efficacy has been observed across all histologies. So we have a progression-free survival signal and we have an overall survival signal. So for patients with squamous cell histology, we preferably may use the combination of docetaxel and Ramucirumab if we do not use an immunotherapy like nivolumab. The story is a little bit different in patients with adenocarcinoma. There we do have the data for the combination of docetaxel and Nintedanib as well as docetaxel and Ramucirumab. However, we have a very good rationale for the combination of docetaxel and Nintedanib in this group of patients with fast progressing tumors, in this group of patients who never responded to first-line chemotherapy. From a practical point of view, there are some additional differences. Ramucirumab is an IV drug, Nintedanib is an oral drug. So this may impact the treatment decision and may also impact it by the convenience of the patient. And another factor is the tolerability profile. In both trials in general, we have observed the toxicity profile that is associated with docetaxel. For the Reck trial, the side effect, which predominantly was associated for the combination of Ramucirumab and docetaxel, has been myelotoxicity. And for Nintedanib, we have seen a little bit more of GI toxicity like diarrhea and a transient elevation of the liver enzymes. So these are also some specific factors which may influence the treatment decision.
Both docetaxel and Ramucirumab can potentially be given combined with docetaxel in patients in the second-line setting with non-small cell lung cancer. For whom to use which drugs is very much a decision-making process between the oncologist and the patients. Nintedanib, for example, is only licensed for adenocarcinomas in combination with docetaxel with no survival advantage seen in the squamous population. Ramucirumab, for example, is licensed for use both in squames and non-squames, and so therefore histology is less of an issue when considering Ramucirumab. Ramucirumab is given intravenously and docetaxel is given orally, and these methods of administration may have some benefits for the healthcare system that one works in and also for patient preference as well. The toxicity of these compounds is also different as well, and so this needs to be borne in mind when making decisions about combining agents together for the particular patient in front of you.
We have very similar studies showing a positive effect of anti-angiogenic agents, both with Ramucirumab and with Nintedanib. And the trials that looked at this are designed in the same way. So I think they can be compared in many ways, but of course they are not a direct comparison. But if we have the choice between these two different compounds, one thing that would be important to look at would be to acknowledge the difference in toxicity with these two treatments. So Ramucirumab increases the hematologic toxicity of docetaxel. So we see an increased risk of leukopenia and febrile neutropenia, which is a concern because this is serious adverse event side effects, and it also often is costly because it makes the patients stay in hospitals rather than being treated as an outpatient. Nintedanib, on the other hand, has other adverse events. And diarrhea is an issue here that we need to be able to manage. And we do also, in some patients, see elevated liver enzymes that we should be observant of, and we should adjust treatment if we observe significant elevation in liver enzymes.
We have seen some new results in patients with pretreated non-small cell lung cancer. In particular, now we have randomized trials showing the superior efficacy of immunotherapies, anti-PD-1 antibodies like nivolumab and pembrolizumab, and we have seen the efficacy of combinations of anti-angiogenic compounds and chemotherapies also in this group of pretreated patients. It's difficult to compare one treatment with another. It's a completely different mode of actions. However, we have got some points of interest which may guide us for future clinical trials. So what we have seen in the nivolumab trial in pretreated patients with non-squamous histology has been a crossing of the overall survival curve, which means there have been some patients not really benefiting from this treatment, and we have to figure out what are these patients and how can we improve the treatment efficacy in this group of patients. On the other hand, when we look on the trial on the combination of docetaxel and nintedanib, we have seen this superior efficacy, in particular in this poor prognostic group of patients, in particular in this group of patients with fast progressing tumors, in this group of patients with refractory diseases who never responded to first-line chemotherapy. So these are some observations in the particular trials, and I think it would be of great interest to explore this in future trials, whether, for example, a combination might be feasible.